My name is Josh Rutter. I'm here for my oral history presentation. I have with me today on this Monday, June 20th, 2011, Coach Mike Dailey. Coach Dailey is a member of the McDaniel College faculty. He currently holds the position of defensive coordinator for the football team, and prior to his arrival at McDaniel was a head coach in the Arena Football League. During his time there, he coached both the Albany Firebirds and the Colorado Crush to world championships, while amassing one of the highest playoff and regular season winning percentages in the history of arena football. He also spent time coaching in the junior college ranks, where his team played for a junior college national championship, and spent time at nearby Towson coaching as well. Mike Dailey has lived in Carroll County with his wife Jody for the past 10 years and continues to be a great mentor and teacher for those around him. All right, for starters, Mr. Dailey, where did you grow up as a child?
I grew up in Beltsville, Maryland, which is in Prince George's County.
What occupations did your parents hold when you were a youngster?
Farming. They had a little truck farm, little roadside produce stand. My father was retired from construction work. He was injured, broke his back, and then went into farming.
Gotcha. All right. How diversified was the area that you grew up in?
It was predominantly white at that time. I was born in the late 50s, so most of Beltsville at that time was predominantly white.
Were you aware of any racial differences growing up, or any differences with ethnicities?
I think if you grew up at that time in the 60s, it would have been hard not to see a difference. And there was never any problems. I think my parents were very open-minded. I was the youngest of 8, and they tried to do a good job of making sure that we were all open-minded. But you certainly were aware of the difference of different nationalities and ethnicities.
Gotcha. You said you were one of 8. You went to DeMatha Catholic, you and then along with one of your other siblings, is that correct?
Correct.
Did going to DeMatha clear up any stereotypes that maybe were surrounding the times in the, like you said, in the 60s growing up and 70s when you were going through school?
I think it helped. I had minimal exposure to any African American students or athletes until I went to DeMatha. And being there, DeMatha was in Hydesville, Maryland, which is a suburb of Washington, D.C., very close to Washington, D.C., and a lot more diverse area. So I had a lot of exposure with different people there, and it was good for me.
After you got out of school, were there any certain events or a time in your life that you can recall now that had a lasting impact? You could remember where you were at, what the time of day, the weather was like, things like that?
Biggest one for me was I was the victim of a robbery in 1981. It was April 6th, 1981. It was about 11:30 in the morning. It was a Monday morning. I was shot during the robbery. Changed my life dramatically, and maybe for the good, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was going to be my next question. You said that changed you for the good. Did it have any impact on you as far as just your mindset with what you were going to do with the rest of your life, or what was your occupation at the time?
Well, at the time I was working as a carpenter's helper, and I was playing semi-professional football, which I think everyone who ever plays aspires to play at the highest level they can. But I was probably limited and wasn't going to go any higher than that, but dreamed of playing at a higher level. And being a victim of robbery and was shot changed dramatically the direction my occupation went. Mm-hmm. And I love football. I got out of being a player and got into coaching, and have been coaching ever since.
Okay, I was going to say, you've been a football coach now for over 3 decades. Was that something that you always thought you might do, or did you kind of come into that?
I really came into it because of that incident. I had really no thoughts that I would go into coaching, even as a player. I didn't aspire at all to coach, but getting an opportunity to do so, wanting to stay involved in football, and then being able to move up through the ranks has been good for me.
Yeah. What's been the most rewarding part of coaching for you?
I think the interaction with the players. You get an opportunity to instruct and talk to young people and maybe give them some guidance about not only what's going on in the field, the X's and O's and the technique, but what's going on in their life.
Mm-hmm. You've coached at a variety of different places, and those have taken you to different parts of the country, different parts of the world. Has the way in which your team was received from various places differed at all?
Well, I think the biggest difference was we had an opportunity to go to Europe, and we took an extended trip to Spain, spent 3 weeks in Spain, and just to have the people of Spain see the athletes from the United States, the physical stature, size, not only just race, but just their size alone. You know, the people of Spain are not very big, and to see those players, particularly the linemen, I think was a little startling to them.
Yeah. Did any of the places that you lived, whether it was Colorado, Albany, did any of those seem more accepting or less accepting of the different racial groups that comprise your team? Or
well, I think I spent 3 years in Indianapolis, Indiana, and I like that part of the country. The people really seem to be, you know, down to earth and accepting of whoever it may be. So I enjoyed that. Everywhere I went was, you know, a good situation, but Indianapolis seemed to be a part of the country that was very good about that kind of.
Okay, great. Has coaching and being able to relate to a diverse population, just in terms of your players and colleagues, do you think that's made you a more well-rounded person? You know, just made you a little bit more aware of different diversities and that.
I think it definitely has. You know, no doubt about it. You know, you get a chance to be exposed to different races, and you know, when you're around young people, young players, you know, things change as you get older. Their age group stays the same, and things change with our culture, and you're more aware of it.
Gotcha. Now, as far as your current position with McDaniel goes, have you seen the population diversify with the different recruiting classes or anything since your tenures began here?
I've only been here 2 seasons, and it has increased. You know, I think we went from 4 African-American players my first year here to 12, I believe, last year. So, you know, we're looking for good students and good players, not really concerned or targeting what race they are, but it has changed.
Yep, I got you. What do you think are just some of the biggest barriers holding back, you know, an influx of different diverse groups here at the college?
Well, you know, the 2 things that are probably the hardest is the academic standards and the cost of the school. I'm recruiting in Prince George's County, Montgomery County, Washington, D.C., and Northern Virginia. That's my region, and that's an area I'm very familiar with. And the sticker shock of the cost or the academic requirements a lot of times is hard for some of the families to overcome.
Uh-huh. All right. Well, just getting a little bit of background about your coaching experiences. Now, more of just Carroll County and the area that you live in now. I know you didn't grow up here, but you lived here for some time now. In what ways, if any, has the area really changed since you first arrived here?
I don't think it's changed very much. You know, at my age, you're not out in the social scene very much. You're not out at restaurants or bars or stuff at night where you might see an influx of different races. But I haven't seen it change very much, truthfully, in the last 10 years I've been here.
Gotcha. All right. Now, from a younger generation standpoint, someone growing up now in today's society, do you think there's been some recent events that you feel would impact young people today, similar to, say, JFK's assassination when you were growing up, or an event like that?
Well, I think the 2 that come to mind for me, and I don't know how recent, you know, when you're older, time seems to go by, but 9/11 obviously was something that, you know, was going to impact everyone who was alive at that time. I remember it. And then President Barack Obama being elected, you know, probably the time that when I was growing up, it would have been unheard of that we would have an African-American president, but you know, times have changed, and I think that makes a big difference.
Yes, sir. All right, well, great. Thank you just for taking a little bit of time out of your day, Coach Dailey. I'd like to thank you on behalf of the Culture and Diversity class here at McDaniel, and I would just like to say good luck in the fall.
Appreciate it.
All right, thank you.